You forgot.
No, I was waiting for it to still go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a LongWalker's special. Let me make sure that's off. We are here today to talk about the different types of narcissists and being affected. I was affected as a child from it. My mother is a very, very big narcissist, and she is one of the ones we'll be going over today, which is the covert. Well, okay, it's the covert, then there's also the, what did I say, the other one that Dr. Phil said?
Well, there's the
Socialist, or...
I guess so, yeah. Because there's like 7 different types, or 5 different types of main narcissistic personality disorders, which is different than like personality traits.
Yeah, well, Dr. Phil talks about 4. He says main 4. That's what he says, so...
I think on another one of his podcasts he talked about 7.
Okay, yeah. Well, because there's the narcissistic personality disorder, and then he says that that's different from an actual narcissist.
Well, no, there's narcissistic personality traits, and then narcissistic personality disorder, NPD, is basically like a demon-attached person. That's your mother, that's my mother. NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. And then there's narcissistic traits, which pop up because you were raised in that environment or because you pick up on
which can be unlearned because it's a...
Yeah, and you can pick up on that stuff even just naturally, just being in different career fields and everything too.
Yes.
But yeah, NPD is narcissistic personality disorder. That is somebody who cannot, absolutely positively, will not ever be cured or ever gotten through to. You know, it's it's a lost cause.
Exactly.
If you have narcissistic traits
that can be cured, that can be taken, you know, you can unlearn what you did.
Right.
So, alright, I got quite a few different videos. If you watched any of my shorts today, you'll have seen some of the stuff that I went through today to try to get a good setup. So, we'll just get right into it here, and we'll talk as we go. Towards the end, I've got a couple of Dr. Phil's that really go over some things, so those will be towards the end. So, let's get into this.
The word narcissist typically brings to mind someone who loudly brags about themselves and craves attention. But did you know that there's another kind of narcissist who is just as manipulative and arrogant, but harder to spot? They're called covert narcissists. Unlike the more obvious and grandiose type of narcissist who flaunts their ego openly, covert narcissists do it in a subtle and sneaky way. They hide their self-absorption and superiority complex behind a facade of humility, shyness, or even victimhood. So we created a video to help you identify covert narcissistic behaviors, so you can be more aware and handle them better. Now let's delve into some of the things that covert narcissists always do. The thinnest skin of all. How do you respond when someone criticizes you? You may feel hurt, rejected, and embarrassed, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong in feeling that way, and sometimes the negative feedback isn't true at all and is purposefully delivered to shatter your sense of self-worth. However, there is something amiss when you're extremely sensitive to criticism. According to psychiatrist Glenn Gabbard, in comparison with their grandiose counterparts, covert narcissists tend to possess the thinnest skin and are super sensitive. They are easily triggered and feel offended whenever they receive real or perceived criticism. Criticism pushes covert narcissists to either be defensive with a growing sentiment of quiet superiority or withdraw with sulkiness. They believe they are perfect and cannot understand that someone does not view them in the same light. Covert narcissists truly feel that they are the center of the universe, and they conceal how affected they are by negative feedback by not showing it as much as an extroverted narcissist. Silent smugness. Research published in the American Journal of Psychiatry explains that grandiose narcissists are easier to spot than covert narcissists due to their obvious boasting and attention-seeking behaviors.
Yes, for sure.
Covert narcissists display more subtle superiority, as they are inclined to scrutinize and judge their environment silently, while listening disinterestedly, with no meaningful contribution to the conversation. When you're around them,
Yes, there are several different types, as we talked about, with the narcissist. The covert, you know, it's harder to spot because they're more shy. They're not just all out about manipulation and everything. They do it kind of sly and on the side. So it's a lot harder to spot them, but they're just as damaging as any other narcissists that are out there.
like, I wanted you to be able, I forgot to put it up, but I wanted you to be able to display some of those things that we found, because, like, the telling thing for me was in the comments, and everybody just rallying behind all this fakeness. You know, everything about the profile is fake, and everything about her life is fake, and all these people are like, oh my God, a well-lived life, and you know, God was, you're so blessed, and she responds, oh yes, I'm so blessed, and it's like, you're not saying anything about the fact that you have a 7-year damaged relationship with your son, and that you are not a part of your grandson's life, but she sits there and totes them about, saying, oh, you know, I've been blessed to have a son, 2 beautiful sons and grandsons, and she hasn't been part of your life.
No, my mother has not been part of our life for over 7 years. Maybe more.
Yeah, I mean, I lost track. It wasn't even within my scope at that point. All I know is when we were having our lowest point, she did nothing to facilitate us getting back together. It was just, oh, well, you'll get lucky next time. And it's like, you got lucky the first time.
I did. And she's the one that's gone through, God, a lot of different people. I mean, she had a new guy there just about every single time. It's insane. I mean, what I went through with that.
Yes, the shy, the covertness, it's like nobody really knows about those sufferings, nobody knows about the traumas, they don't bring those things up, which in my mind is much more triumphant if you bring those things up and say I've overcome them, but these kinds of people, they don't do that.
No, they don't.
And, you know, it's just really shady and sneaky and shy, and everybody around them just thinks that they're so giving and generous and beautiful and all of these things that they're really just not. And that just gets under my skin, as you know, because it's not authentic. And it just really, really gets me. But yeah, I see it within this type of person that they're talking about here.
They're acting aloof rather than brazenly showing their negativity. They prefer to avoid situations that may threaten their sense of superiority. Impolite gestures. Have you ever recounted an exciting travel story, but the person in front of you suddenly fakes a yawn? Licensed marriage and family therapist Darlene Lancer says this is a typical behavior displayed by covert narcissists, as they are taking delight in discreetly evaluating and judging other people. Besides that, these are also often manifested outwardly with eye-rolling when they want to discard people's opinions, frequently sighing and feeling irritated, and groaning to convey their disapproval. Fish out sympathy. Psychologist Dr. Susan Albers explains that covert narcissists often voice their negative self-talk to fish for sympathy from people. They may say, sigh, I look old, but in reality they want others to come to their rescue and shower them with statements to negate their self-deprecation. By downplaying their strength, the covert narcissist has found a sneaky way to make others compliment them so that they feel good about themselves. They are most likely unaware that the underlying reason they're behaving like this is because of their need for positive attention. Passive-aggressive behavior. So you get a feeling that your friend is mad at you. When asked, what's the matter, he scowls and answers, I'm fine. But you know there's clearly something wrong because he continues to act coldly towards you. Licensed clinical psychologist Dr. Matthew Boland notes that covert narcissists typically act passive-aggressively when frustrated to demonstrate their superiority. They can give you the silent treatment, mock you but disguise it as a joke, or shift the blame to make you feel bad. These behaviors are rooted in their belief that they are special, making them feel that they deserve to get whatever their hearts desire. Self-serving empathy. What do you feel when your friend starts crying and tells you she just got fired? Can you put yourself in her shoes and understand why she would feel sad and disappointed? Or, when you see her crying, her sadness makes you feel sad too? The first reaction shows that you have cognitive empathy, while the second one demonstrates that you possess emotional empathy. In a study, researcher Radislav Ragosa and colleagues concluded that covert narcissists can empathize with other people, but with the underlying motivation to get the approval of others. In other words, they have cognitive empathy and understand what other people are feeling and thinking, but they're unable to develop emotional empathy. On the surface, people with covert narcissism may seem to be compassionate and generous, but on a deeper level, their kind behavior is self-serving, as they do it to be seen as the good guy and praised by the people around them. If these behaviors are not admired, the covert narcissists will be resentful. No matter what type of narcissist you have met in your life, overt or covert, close and frequent interactions with them may leave you feeling weary and demoralized. So if you suspect that you have a covert narcissist in your life, it's a good idea to seek professional support, where you can learn more about the disorder and start your healing journey. If you've enjoyed this video, remember to like and subscribe. And remember, you matter.
This one
Hey Psych2Go family, welcome back. If you're new to this channel and by the end of the video you enjoy our content, do consider subscribing and joining the Psych2Go fam. Now, let's begin. Narcissistic victim syndrome is a term that collectively describes...
Alright, I do believe this is the same place that we just watched. A different video. And this is 10 signs of the narcissistic victim syndrome. Now, just know that I don't like using the word victim because if you're a victim, you know, then you've got something to go on and be like, oh, poor me.
And they have power over you.
And they have power over you. So, you know, that's not really the term you should go with. You just, you know, you had to endure it, but you need to get up and rise over it. So this is just the signs of what, you know, to watch out for, what to see, so that you know, okay, I need to overcome all this. So let's see what they have to say about this.
Specific and often severe side effects of narcissistic abuse. Many experts acknowledge narcissistic abuse can have a serious, long-lasting impact on emotional health, although it is not recognized as a mental health condition. As a result of chronic abuse, victims may struggle with symptoms of PTSD or complex PTSD if they had additional trauma, such as being abused by narcissistic parents. With that in mind, here are 10 signs that might suggest you have narcissistic victim syndrome. Number 1. You felt like you had a perfect relationship with that person in the beginning. When you're in a romantic relationship, this type of abuse usually begins slowly, and it creeps up on you after you've fallen hard and are in love with your partner. In the early stages of the relationship, this is when the love bombing usually occurs. They may shower you with gifts and affections, and it can feel very intense. Then, slowly, manipulative tactics start to invade the relationship and will replace the love bombing. In the case of narcissistic parents, they might also offer love, adoration, praise, and financial support until you do something to displease them and lose their favor. They use tactics such as gaslighting and silent treatment, which can leave you questioning your own sanity. And this is something that sticks with you, even after you've cut ties with that person. Number 2, you feel like you're walking on eggshells. A common symptom of trauma is avoiding anything that might make you relive that particular trauma, whether it be people, places, or activities that pose the threat to you. You may feel like you're constantly worried.
And I gotta say, I think both of us felt that way with our parents. The walking on eggshells.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
I know with you and your mom, for sure.
Yeah, so how was it different with you? Because I know it's like we had narcissistic tendencies, but on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I was afraid of like literally dishonoring, displeasing.
I just didn't want to upset my mother. She was easily upset, or, she had a bad day. It just revolved all around her world.
So when if she got upset, and if you were upset, and then it upset her, what was it that she would say? Would she turn it around and be like, somehow it would just...
She would just stay upset, just, like depressed and...
And how can you do this to me?
Yeah.
Why has this happened to me?
Yeah.
The truth, that's why we don't like the word victim, you and I, because of that. It's like they have this victimhood mentality.
Exactly.
And it's just disgusting. It's
yes.
There's an aversion to us now because we see the damage that's been done.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely walking on eggshells.
Yeah. I remember, even when I stayed with you and your mother, it was, with your mother especially, it was really, you didn't want to do anything, and she was so easy to set off.
Yeah. And, it's funny that they bring this up, walking on eggshells, because when we were going through when we were separated for that year, I don't like to call it a separation, because spiritually and everything, I was still with you.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But, my mother would go through like the posts on your Facebook and everything, and every now and then she would just let one like drop for me to see. And one of the ones that I saw was, next time I won't walk on eggshells for anybody. And that's when your mother had posted and said, well, yeah, it doesn't, everything happens for a reason, and the next time will be the real time and all of that. And it was like that just stuck with me. But it was interesting that it said that. And it was like, presumably we're talking about me, but, the eggshells.
Well, with the eggshells, it was more your mother.
For my mother, yeah.
Because I stayed with you and your mother.
I could not do anything.
Yeah. And if your mother got upset, then you got upset. It was a whole...
But that just stung me because it was like a next time, you know, when nothing had, like, really ended for me. And then it's like, your mother isn't even encouraging us to try to work things out. It's just, we'll just move on to the next thing. The next thing will be the best thing for you.
Yeah. My mother was never one to complete a project. She did puzzles somehow.
I was thinking that, yeah.
But that's it. Everything else, it was like, oh, well, I'll do it some other time. Procrastination, that's where I get that from.
You get to the end, almost to the end of something, and then just go on, and it gets a little bit difficult, and we're just gonna...
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting to go through these, because we do have the same experience on different ends of the spectrum.
Exactly. I mean, it really is interesting that way.
And being careful about what you say or do around people, because that is how you used to behave when you were around your abuser. You may present as anxious and introverted, especially when in the presence of other people, though you're simply acting out of extreme fear. Number 3, you may have experienced smear campaigns once the relationship ended. When breakups happen, it's common for people to take sides. This is no different when it comes to a narcissistic abuser. They will twist your words and tell their version of the story to others to try and get them to feel sorry for them. Yes. They can often drum up support from your loved ones by insisting that they only have the best interest at heart. Then, when you try to talk about the abuse that happened, your loved ones might side with the abuser over you. This can draw up barriers between you and the people in your support network and leave you feeling isolated. Number 4, you feel isolated and vulnerable. When no one will listen to you or your concerns, this can leave you feeling very much alone. When you feel alone, you're vulnerable to further manipulation from your abuser. They may pull you back in with fake apologies, a hand of kindness, or by...
and that really brings up with your mother again. Mm-hmm. I mean, when we were staying with her, it got really bad. I mean, she would go to you and be like, oh my god, I can't believe what he's doing. And the same time she'd come to me, I can't believe what she's doing. And so we were both...
extremely pitted against each other. And then, like I said, coming back to like our separation, I did what she wanted me to do. Excuse me, I'm getting a little riled up here, but I did what she wanted me to do. All this time she's saying, well, you have to kick him out. He can't be around you. If he's going to be doing these things, you have to get rid of him. And finally I do it. And I think that she's going to be satisfied with that and give me support and give me love. And she does the exact opposite. And she too withdraws from my life for like 3 months, leaving me completely and totally alone with him.
Yeah, that's correct.
For like 3 months. She came up for like 2 days after I had kicked you out and went through all my trash, picked up all my trash and everything, just so she could continue to show me all the things that I had missed and display them. I mean, she literally lined them up so that she could display how much I had missed to throw that shame in. And then she left and did not come back and did not talk to me for like 3 months.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like I could not win. She told me all this time what I needed to do. I did it, and she still left me isolated.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's like it's even worse when you're with them, and you still feel isolated anyway.
Exactly. That's what I was getting at with that too. Is it's like no matter what, because you didn't feel like you could tell me anything because somehow your mother turned it around still. Yeah. And then if you told your mother anything, she still turned it around. I mean, you heard her on the phone a couple of times talking to your grandmother.
That was the biggest betrayal. The biggest betrayal was like, finally breaking down and telling her exactly how I feel and what I really need. And then her looking like she actually gets it, understands, nods her head and everything. And then I hear her talking about me behind my back to my grandmother. and they're both just tearing into me and my character and everything.
Yeah.
And then I go walk by them, and she acts like she's talking about something else. Oh my god.
Yes.
That was the biggest sense of betrayal I think I've ever felt in my life. And, you know, like I said, I don't know how it was for you with your mother. I know there was definitely isolation situations.
Yeah.
Because you
Well,
have
because
separation anxiety.
my mother wasn't even there half the time.
Right.
I mean,
You weren't even tortured.
No.
You were just neglected.
Yeah. I mean, so many times it's like I would be like going home. Like one time, you know, I was going home and I thought she had already, like, we were supposed to go somewhere, so I had to return from a friend's house at a certain time. We lived in an apartment complex. I believe it was in Sacramento, but it could have been different. I'm not sure at the time. And it was a gated complex. I'm running back home and I look and the car's not where it's supposed to be parked. You have a designated spot. So I'm like, she took off without me. What the hell? I was like maybe 5 minutes late. And I go in and she's still sleeping. I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, your car's not there. She's like, oh, come on, stop it. No, it's there. Goes out. Wasn't there, got stolen. In a gated apartment complex.
Oh my god. You know, but why would you think that she was going to leave you, though?
Just the way she was. She would go and, you know.
She would leave you then. She had done that before.
Yeah.
That's why you thought that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking, like, that's a weird thing to think if that's not happened before. Why would
But
you
it
think
has.
that? She would leave you.
Yeah.
It was like when I would be, like, waiting for my mother to pick me up after school or after, like, gymkhanas and everything. I'd be there for freaking hours, sitting there underneath a tree.
Yeah.
You know, or even sometimes it was only, like, 40 minutes. But, I mean, 40 minutes to, like, you know, an 8-year-old, that's a long freaking time. And so you get this, like, sense of, oh crap, they're not coming, and then you go through all of these horrible fucking thoughts, you know?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And you saw that firsthand a few times with my mother, like when she would go and when she went to go and take care of the fire and go up there and like, you know, she didn't talk to us for like what, 18 hours while she was up there dealing with the fire, and it's like you couldn't find a way to send word.
Exactly.
All the time. Your mother did that when we would say, "Hey, let us know that you got back home safe."
We wouldn't hear from her for the night. We're like, "Oh, something happened.
Yeah,
And then the morning, "Oh, I just didn't remember to do it."
I think the longest time that she went was like 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
And you ended up even getting a hold of your dad, and your dad hadn't even heard from her.
Exactly.
And then he's like, "Well, I didn't even know that she went up there." And it's like, well, yeah. And then it's like, "Oh, well, no, my phone died, or I had something come up," and it's like, "But you were on Facebook." That's how I would always be able to tell. It's like I see that she logged onto Facebook. And it's like, okay, well, she posted something there, so she's fine. But, I mean, it's like, you'd still wonder, you know? And that sense of, like, isolation and, like, insecurity comes from that, you know?
Of course.
Always wondering.
I mean, my next little story that I have, that, you know, just to say how much they left us alone, comes when it was myself, my brother, and he had a few friends over. We lived on Sesame Street. Yes, I said it, Sesame Street. Tell me how to get to Sesame Street. I can tell you. Anyway, we were on Sesame Street, and it was myself, my brother, and a couple of his friends over. Now, midday, and there's a guy at the door wanting to come in. Claiming for the pool. We're like, no, you have to come back when my mom's here. You know, we're not gonna deal with it. My brother was probably like 12 years old, 13 years old. I was like 6 then, 7. And, my brother had like 2 or 3 of his friends over, you know, and we told the guy, no, you know, you have to come back. And he's getting all mad and flustered. He's like, I've got to do my job. We're like, well, we didn't know anything about it. So next thing we know.
Pre-cell phone era.
Yeah, pre-cell phone era. Next thing we know, the guy's busting in through our garage and heading to the backyard to do the pool. Well, here we are, you know, a bunch of just like, you know, teenagers, and then I was younger. My brother and his friends have like bow and arrows, baseball bats in hand. We don't know what this guy is going to do.
Well, hell, you've seen these things now. You see it all the time on the body cam things or like the doorbell cams.
Yeah.
It's like everybody's always pretending to be like some kind of service
Something,
worker
yes.
or something. It's just so they can like gain access to your house. So it's not such a far-fetched thing to be so afraid, even then.
Yeah, this is probably like what, 95, 94, something like that.
Yep.
On the years, and I mean. So you can imagine that whole scenario played out, and eventually we get a hold of my mom, and She comes rushing home from work because she was working. Because, you know, single mother having to work. That whole ordeal.
You can't put yourself
County worker at that. And so she comes rushing home and settles it. Note to say that the guy got fired for doing what he did, because he really was a pool guy. But he shouldn't have done that. He should have just said, okay, I'll come back another time.
Yeah.
But no, he got fired for doing that. But I mean, that's just it. We were home alone a lot.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and so much has stemmed from that, being home alone.
And through time, you guys will hear a lot more stories. I've got quite a few of them.
And it's good because it's like you need to get that out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you see now that we are not alone. We read the comments.
Walking the streets of Sacramento when I was like 10 years old, alone.
When there was a serial killer.
When there's a serial killer around the time on the loose. Yeah.
In Sacramento. And we had Richie Ramirez down here.
Yeah.
At Fresno on this end of it. So it's like a great time.
Yeah.
Great time to be a
great
Kansas
timing.
City, you know? Yeah.
All right, let's get on with some of these before we...
Brushing their
waste
past
all the
abuse
time.
under the rug. This tactic, which is called hovering, is the perfect time to pounce when you're lacking in support, since you are more likely to doubt your perceptions of the abuse when you can't talk to anyone about it. Number 5, you've developed a pervasive sense of mistrust. Are you hypervigilant? Do you worry and get anxious over other people's intentions? The gaslighting techniques used by the narcissistic abuser may have contributed to how you view the world, and you may find that you have a hard time trusting anyone, including yourself. Number 6, you may engage in self-sabotaging and self-destructive behavior. Victims often find themselves ruminating over the abuse. This can enhance the frequency of negative self-talk and the tendency towards self-sabotage. Malignant narcissists will try and program you, conditioning you for self-destruction. This could potentially lead you to engaging in risky behaviors, such as self-harm or even suicidal ideation. You might have developed a knack for punishing yourself because of the toxic shame you carry, put there by the hypercriticism and verbal abuse of your abuser. If you feel like you're lacking in any motivation to pursue your dreams and goals, then this could be a result of narcissistic abuse. Number 7, you may experience unexplained physical symptoms. Narcissistic abuse can trigger anxious and nervous feelings that can trigger physical symptoms. The stress of chronic abuse may send your stress levels into overdrive, and as a result, your immune system may take a severe hit, leaving you vulnerable to physical ailments and disease. You may notice symptoms such as appetite changes, nausea, stomach pain, muscle aches and pains, insomnia, and fatigue. Number 8, you may have issues setting boundaries. The experience of narcissistic abuse can often leave you with little respect for boundaries. This may be because when you tried to set boundaries in the past, you may have been met with challenges from the abuser, who gave you the silent treatment until you did what they wanted. Once you end the relationship or gain distance from a narcissistic parent, you promise yourself that you won't answer their calls or physically see them at all. However, even if you've tried to cut ties, your abuser is confident that they will eventually wear you down because you've set aside your boundaries with them so many times before. If you've experienced narcissistic abuse, you might also have trouble setting healthy boundaries in your relationships with others in the future. 9, you may be questioning your own identity. When facing abuse, many people adjust their self-identity to accommodate an abusive partner. You may have stopped doing things you enjoy or spending time with friends and family in order to better appease your abuser. These changes can often lead to a loss of identity during and after the abuse. It's not uncommon for victims of narcissistic abuse to experience dissociation and detachment from the physical world. Dr. Vanderklok writes in his book titled, "The Body Keeps the Score." Dissociation is the essence of trauma. The overwhelming experience is split off and fragmented so that the emotions, sounds, images, thoughts, and physical sensations take on a life of their own. Oof. Number 10. You may find it hard to make decisions. When there has been a negative pattern of devaluation and criticism
Yeah, I gotta say, a lot of these are pretty well spot on for the science of trauma and stuff. It,
Especially for somebody who has like a male that is raised by a single mother, and that's why this is like kind of important for your channel, because this is again stemming from, this is the root of the problem
Yes.
of like modern women. You know, it started with our mothers and grandmothers and it's just continued. But like with your mother being like out of whack, you weren't raised to make sound, solid decisions.
No,
my
not
mother,
at all.
My mother raised me to be like ultra masculine, so I can make hard, fast decisions. But I shouldn't. You know, I should think about things a little
Exactly,
bit more and
yeah.
weigh things more emotionally, and I don't. So it's like you and I are completely polarized by our experience. You know?
exactly. To what we shouldn't have been.
Right. It's like you were obviously the man of the house, but only with limitations, right?
Yeah.
Like she didn't actually give you the authority or the pressure.
She wouldn't give any man the authority. Like, the best marriage she had, besides from her actual dad, was a guy named Dean, and she absolutely ended it and hated it because he tried to control the money. Because she was terrible with spending. She would just buy whatever she wanted, go out and get whatever she wanted. Well, he was trying to put an end to that and say, listen, you need to start thinking about saving, you need to do this. And she wouldn't have anything. I won't be told what to do with my money. I won't be, it's that.
I mean, it's like I don't like really spend a lot of money. You know, I don't. But there's been times that it's like I've seen something in the store, or I've showed you something online, and you just very simply say, okay, well, we can think about that, or we'll, keep an eye out for that for later. It's like basically you're saying we can't afford that right now, and that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But people like your mother and my mother, for some reason, that was just like the end all be all of any relationship. For my mother, it was with my grandfather. How dare you? It's all about money to them. And it's like, it's like you're only saying that now because you use like $55,000.
I know.
Of their money plus some to take care of your house that you lost anyway. So see, they can't handle.
They can't.
They can't handle it. And there's nothing wrong with a man telling you those things if he's thinking more logically than you happen to be at that moment.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
In your life, you might have very little self-esteem and confidence in yourself. Narcissistic abusers can make statements that imply that you are unable to make good decisions. Abusive partners may have called you stupid or ignorant, or they might have insulted you with a false and affectionate tone. They can manipulate you into believing you imagine parts of reality, making it seem less important than it actually is. This type of cajoling deceitfulness can affect the way you make future decisions. So, did you relate to any of these signs? Let us know in the comments below. I wanted to take a second to say that I'm sorry, hi, it's Amanda, the voiceover. Voice? I'm reading this script for the first time, and I really related to it. So I wanted to add a point that in you taking the time to learn about narcissistic victim syndrome, you're empowering yourself. Once you know, you can grow. Acknowledging the effects of being in a narcissistic relationship is the first step to healing from one. As we close out, we wanted to say that not all abuse is linked to narcissism, and not all people with a diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder will engage in abusive behavior. However, if you feel you might be a victim of this type of abuse, we encourage you to reach out for help.
More common than
Talk to someone you can trust, like a good friend, a family member, or a therapist. It's not easy to leave an abusive relationship, but with the right support, you can move on with your life and start to heal from your past hurts. Like and share this video if it helped you and you think it could help someone else too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Psych2Go videos, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Exactly.
Since you've been gone,
If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual.
The Kelly Clarkson, since you've been gone, I can breathe for the first time. It's like it totally resonates with me with that, leaving that relationship. It's like
exactly.
really disheartening, but screen, you know.
For sure.
I think that the damage stays, and this way, the only way that you can actually really heal from it is just to elevate yourself, change your mindset.
It takes a lot, too.
Yeah, I mean...
The average person that had the abuse could not do it unless they have somebody. Like, I'm lucky to have you by my side, and you've gotten me through so much of it.
Yeah, and likewise, because you have like a more grounded, rational approach to understanding why
Yep.
people do the things that they do.
And I'm too laid back and just go with the flow type of personality, so you have to get me going.
Yeah, because you would
I have
just...
to put fire under my ass.
Yeah, you would just let it... You would just let it be, you know, and just be like, well, it is what it is, but it isn't because it keeps
Yeah.
coming up. You know, it keeps causing problems.
Exactly.
It keeps causing little ripples, so it's like we have to...
Work through it all.
Yeah, we have to.
Alright, so now what we're looking at here is how to identify a covert, malignant narcissist, which is like your mother.
My mother is definitely malignant. Covert, I don't know, she's pretty out about it, but...
Yeah. No, but she hides it from other people.
Sometimes, remember, she talked about me all the time behind my back at the hospital, like, all the time. I would share intimate details with one person,
Yep.
and then it would...
The whole hospital would do it.
Yeah, you know, it was like, and then I'm hearing it from these people that I barely know, and
Yeah.
they're telling me these things and reporting back if they see you in town and all that, and it's like, who cares? It's like, I'm not even in town, so why do you even care?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
if he's doing business in town, that's not my business anymore. So why should you tell my mother? Or like when you were working for somebody up the road, working for them for a couple of years, and then all of a sudden they're talking to my mother about your job performance? What?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, how does that even happen?
You know, and then then your mother's getting information about us that we didn't want her having.
And it was inaccurate.
Yeah.
I mean, it was inaccurate information. It was so, like, I don't know if she blew it out of proportion or if other people blew it out of proportion.
Yeah, I don't
but
either.
Then it was like she would hold that over my head like it actually happened. And it's like, you weren't even there. And I would get all, like, worried and might have a pit in my stomach just thinking about what she's going to say. And then I'm thinking, well, why am I even worried if that's inaccurate, you know?
Yes.
I mean, that's the kind of power
They have.
that they have, yeah.
So that's why we try to make this a very well-known and talked about thing for other people that might be going through the same issues.
Right.
Because it is very big and it can have a big impact on your life.
And if you do happen to be successful in your life, then you can stand solidly knowing that they didn't have anything to do with that.
Exactly.
You know, it's the other people around you that built you up, and it was your own perseverance that built you up.
Yes.
But do not give them any credit.
Where credit's not due.
Right. You know.
Exactly. Alright, I'm going to get on with this one.
Certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic.
The opposite way.
One of the things that makes the study of narcissism so intriguing is that a narcissist can show up in many different forms or in many different behavioral patterns. Today I want to talk with you about the covert malignant narcissist. Now, when we talk about narcissism first, we're talking about somebody that has a high need for control and low levels of empathy. They tend to be very manipulative, they're very entitled and self-absorbed. When we talk about a covert narcissist, we're talking about somebody who doesn't necessarily appear to be strongly narcissistic up front. They can cover it well, but over time, that need for control and all the rest that goes with it does tend to show up. You just don't necessarily see it immediately. And then when we talk about a malignant narcissist, we're talking about somebody that has that strong need for control in an extra measure. They can be quite mean and calloused in the way that they engage with other people.
Yes.
So when we talk about that covert malignant narcissist, we're talking about a very difficult kind of person to engage with, because at first you don't necessarily see the fullness of that malignancy and the meanness that's there, but in time it does begin to show show up, and boy, if you're attached to that person, it's not good news. Now, I want to go through 10 different indicators that will help you identify the covert malignant narcissist. Now, the first thing that we'll say about this individual is they do not want to be known. Now, obviously, if you're going to engage with them, you're going to know certain things about them. You may learn that they used to live in Cleveland, Ohio, or they have a job doing this, or they maybe have 2 kids that do such and such. And so you might know some of the basics about it. But as the narcissist goes, and especially the covert and the malignant variety goes, it's like, the less you know about me, the better off I'm going to be. See, one of the things that's very important to them is they do not want to be vulnerable. They don't.
My grandparents and all their paranoia. You know, when we got like that dresser from, you know, Toys R Us for him, for Tristan,
Yes.
your dad had purchased it, and then your dad said he would come up and get it and take it to our house and everything.
Yeah.
It was this whole thing, especially after they left. They're like, well, you know, he just wanted to get up here and see what we had. You know, he works for the county. He works for the cops. He can't be trusted. He was just looking to see what kind of stuff we had on our property. He wanted to see the new truck. It was this whole thing. And it was just like grilled about it afterwards. You know, you guys had left. And I was absolutely grilled by my paranoid grandparents about this. It was like they did not trust him at all. And it was like I was completely just like mortified. I mean, they like did this half circle around me, basically just accusing me and saying, you know, I can't believe you would let him come here. You know, it was like it was your dad.
Yeah.
You know, it was your dad who's so laid back and doesn't care about anything else, you know, but they were so sure he was out there just to see what they had and were out to get him, you know. It was like when my grandfather wanted to give Tristan a gun, and he didn't tell me not to tell anybody, but then I went in and I told my mother, and you happened to be in the room, and he had to take me aside by my elbow and ream me in his quiet way that he did, saying, well, I can't believe you just did that. I can't give him that gun now because you know who was in the room when you said that, and his father works for the county and he can't be trusted. Same thing. You know, it was like that is the level of paranoia I was raised in.
We didn't want him getting a gun anyway.
No. But, you know, it was like, I mean, he's like, that was family business. And that's what I kept saying. That's family business. This is between the family. And it was like, we were married. We were married before he was even born. And we were freaking married.
Exactly.
And I was like, but you were never part of the family, you know?
I know.
I was like, well, the family never did anything for me. So, but yeah, that was the level of paranoia.
It was big.
That they displayed.
Yeah.
Want you to see anything that would give you, or know anything about them that would give you any kind of advantage about them. They certainly won't talk about personal experiences beyond a superficial level. They simply do not want you to see whatever kind of humanity other individuals might tend to reveal. It just won't happen. Now, a second thing that we can say as we identify the covert malignant narcissist is that they're not just intolerant of separate beliefs and persuasions that people have. They're profoundly intolerant of other people's different beliefs and persuasions. In their mind, if you differ from them, you're not just wrong, you're despicable. They actually will show contempt to anybody that would dare think or prioritize or believe in ways that would be different from them. It's just like there's stupid people, and then there is you. That's how they think. And so differences bring out a very harsh kind of reaction from them. A third thing that we can say that identifies them is there's a sense of zero give and take when you discuss things with them. Now, or when you try to make decisions with them. Now, they have black and white thinking. Yes, that's part of it. But it's beyond just black and white thinking. The covert malignant narcissist is known for having strong, and I mean strong, rigidity. It's like I will hear nothing else that doesn't fit with my game plan, with my agenda. And so there is no sense of discussion. There is no sense of give and take. It's what I say it has to be. And that's how they think, and they can communicate very strongly that way. And they're just known for being ridiculously stubborn. A fourth indicator, which would come as no surprise, is they have no regard whatsoever for your needs and feelings. Now, we hear that narcissists have low levels of empathy. In the covert and the malignant narcissist, the empathy is completely non-existent. They're poor listeners. They have no curiosity about you. They're not interested in knowing anything about you beyond data collecting. Now, if they hear something about you that kind of gets their attention, it'll only be because it's like, well, it's good to know certain things about you because I can use that against you. So they like learning about some of the personal things in your life, but only for the reason of finding a scoop on you.
Again, your grandparents, your mother, all of them, it was like they had to have information.
Yep. Just like we were talking about, like, your boss talking to her about our life.
Yeah.
And, the reason that I didn't want certain things brought up was because I knew it would get twisted. I knew she would find a way to use it against me and make me look bad and use it as a smear campaign. So already at that point, I was trying to limit the information, which she just perceived as to be more lies. She's like, those are lies. And then she kept saying, more lies. You lie all the time. And it's like, I got to thinking, and I'm like, well, perhaps I do, but I learned it from you.
It's true,
and then I got to really thinking them, and it's like most of the time I wasn't lying, but she still twisted it to even make me think that it's like, okay, yeah, that's definitely, I can see how that was a lie.
They had to make themselves feel bigger.
Yeah.
Therefore, they have to make you feel smaller by, well, you're lying to me. You're doing all this to me. My house was lost because of you.
Right. And so when I finally took back my power by saying, okay, well, I was accountable, it's like, yes, I stole your pills. Yes, I used the bank account more than I should have. Yes, I mean, it's like I could have justified reasons for doing that, but I didn't even bring that up. I just said, yes, I did those things. And she didn't have anything else to use against me, and that was it.
And she started shutting down on you.
Exactly. It was but see, once I did that, then I did start to realize it's like, yeah, I did those things, but I didn't do these things. You did those things to me. You said that unjustly. Because I was able to admit those first things, it brought everything else to light.
Oh, yeah. And then that made it even more powerful.
And that made it just more painful. But yes, more powerful and definitely a statement. And I think that's kind of like where you're at now is finding those truths. It's like, yes, I did these things, but I did it because of this. And this was still done to me, and I didn't deserve that.
Yeah, and why did I do these things?
Right, exactly. It's like, who taught me this? It's like with me, with my lies. Started with, okay, well, we don't lie to each other. That's the worst thing you can do to me. But, you don't need to tell grandma about this. And, laughing off, well, I just bought this thing, but don't you dare say anything to grandpa. Don't you dare,
Exactly.
So it started with that.
Which then made your grandfather put you in charge of tearing up the credit cards over the phone because, well, she can't be trusted, so I'm going to have to count on you. At what age?
12.
12 years old.
12. Yeah, between the ages of 12 and 14 were the most informative years with that, learning how to balance the checkbook. And he would be like, is she keeping track of this? And why is she using a gas card? You never want to use a gas card,
Yeah.
And then, she has a Sears card. When did she get that? And I had to go back and find statements and then check to make sure she was balancing her books properly. Did she pay the electric? Did she pay this? And
yeah.
Not a good thing.
No, it's not.
It's like you said the other day, kind of like got me. I thought you thinking. I was like, yeah, he forced me into my masculine at a very early age.
Yeah.
Where you were made to avoid it.
Exactly. I was put into my feminine.
Yeah.
Because of my mother.
Yeah. She had the ultra masculine way about trying to go about the world, trying to.
Yeah.
And she was really, she was really gross in that manner too. She was like really overtly sexual. It's like I barely knew her, and she was like talking about these sexual things.
Yeah, and now she's dating a trans.
She's married.
Married to a trans.
trans man.
It was
She
a woman turned man.
And they knew each other, and they were friends before.
Uh-huh.
And
then they hooked up after
yeah.
turning.
So, like, she's cheating now.
So she's a lesbian in all senses.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, she was really overtly sexual with her conversations and stuff. And so it's like, yeah, she had this ultra masculine way about going through life, and it's evident with the way that you turned out. It's like you were like, oh, I'm not even gonna bother.
Exactly.
And so that's why you sought me out, because I was ultra masculine, at least in energy. You know, I wasn't like butch or anything.
No.
But, you know, I was like, my energy was ultra masculine, and it still can be. And so it's like we stick to polarize that.
Yeah, we've had to find our ways to balance and become that feminine.
And then it's like, yeah, you can go about your life for a certain amount of time being like polarized like that, but as you notice, like once you start to get to be about 30 to 40 years old, it starts to not work anymore. Like for me, I got way too exhausted. I could not make a rational decision for our family.
Yeah.
Because I was just too exhausted. And it's like with you, it was like the being in your feminine for so long was like beating you down in so many other ways.
Yeah, for sure.
You couldn't function. You know, we couldn't function. And it's like, so yeah, I don't know. You can't do it for that long.
No, you can't.
You have to fix it.
Yeah.
You know?
Ready?
Yep.
If you will. Now, a fifth thing that we can say about the covert malignant narcissist is that as a general rule, they tend to manage their anger with passivity. Now, when I say passivity, I don't mean that they're not intentional, because they're very intentional. But what I mean is they can be very stoic in their anger. They can just give blank stares, and they're known for just having this mean glare. They offer the silent treatment as a way of letting it be known, you have bothered me and you are now on my bad side. They'll stonewall you. They have a lack of cooperation of enormous magnitude. A lot of passive aggressive heart.
Is your mother mean?
She would get a attitude about her. Like, if something wasn't... See, that's what got me, too, is I don't know where I got this real passive, real don't like confrontation, because she was one also that if something would go wrong at a restaurant, it's like...
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Well, maybe that's why, because you felt that it was, like, it's wrong, you know, to be going about people like that's the masculine crap, you know. When masculinity is worn by females, it comes off as pure aggression. And it's like when masculinity is worn by males, it is calm and stoic in the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking, it's like I never saw her as being complex enough to even be angry. It was like she was always just seeking pleasure to me.
Okay, cat needs in. Yeah, but that was a lot of it. I mean... Come on, get in. And I mean, that's what I remember, because I was always, like, embarrassed. Because it's like, oh my god, here she goes again. You know, situation.
You sure you're about
I am.
So, yeah, that's what I was just kind of wondering, because, yeah, I don't think I ever encountered her being, like, mean. I never thought that she really, like, had the complexity to be so. Because if I got snippy or mean, she would just give me this, like... What? You know, this like, I can't believe you just did that to me.
She would get that way too. More when I was younger. I don't think as I got older that she did it as much. It was more like when she was young, when I was younger.
It's like, because, you know, you don't have to bring up about the meanness on my side of it, because you know how mean they are. But, yeah, I was just kind of wondering about that. Because for me, what I mostly saw with her was just a general indifference to you in general. You know, it was like she would hug you a little too long when, you know, people were around.
Of course, yeah.
But if nobody was around and she couldn't take pictures, then it was like, F you.
Yeah, she was always trying to use pictures of Tristan that we didn't approve for the internet. Right. Always trying to post it all over, like, oh my god, look at this. Right. Look what's going on.
And people would be like, oh, you're so lucky to live so close and, you know, to be part of their lives. And it was the same kind of thing. We hadn't seen her for months. And she'd be like, oh, I know, I'm so blessed. And it's like, life is so good. And it's like, you're either super fucking delusional, or you're just trying to fake everybody out and make them think that you're living your best life when you're just not.
Yes.
You know, but not doing the work. You know, not doing the work. I mean, AA was such a big part of her life. That's like one of the first things she talked about. And then it's like now she doesn't even bring up those traumas or trials or anything. It's like it never happened.
Exactly.
It's all very fake. And I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah. Let's get on with this because I think this will be our last video because we're already 53 minutes in.
Okay.
So we'll get to Dr.
Anger that they have. Now, a sixth thing that we can say is this doesn't mean that they don't have openly aggressive anger. And when they do have openly aggressive anger, it's expressed with an extra measure of cruelty. The covert, malignant narcissist is known for just spewing insults. Their words can be laced with hate, and they can be very condescending and very debilitating, and you can just walk away just feeling like you've been ripped to shreds because that's how they operate. They leave no mistake about how strongly they feel in a negative kind of direction. A seventh thing that we can identify them with is they tend to collect people who they deem to be weaker. In other words, they like having yes people around them, whether it's their girlfriends or their guy friends or coworkers. They like having people around who will just nod their head and say yes, and this proves in that narcissist's mind exactly how powerful and mighty they actually are. They have plenty of flying monkeys. Now, an eighth identifier of the covert malignant narcissist is, to them, truth is expedient, which is a nice way of saying they lie easily, but then they also keep secrets, or their storyline can change depending on what their narrative may be. And when you're talking with them and when you engage with them, you never quite get the feeling that you're getting the whole story. And they're very cagey with what they reveal, and they make up things to go along with whatever their narrative might be.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's where the whole saying comes through, that there's always three sides to a story. There's theirs, yours, and the truth. Because both sides most generally will twist it just a little bit to suit their own need.
Yeah. And,
yeah.
A ninth identifier is that they have no conception whatsoever regarding love. They don't have a need for love. If someone says I love you, then it's like, whatever. Now they may want sex, and they may be sexual in their orientation toward people, but even then, it's...
Yes, like my mother always was looking for it, trying to find it, but she never would settle. She never would get with anybody and stay.
just pleasure seeking.
Yeah, just pleasure. And your mother, the same way. Like, she stopped looking for it from what I saw.
She never wanted love, and she barely sought pleasure. She didn't even really seek pleasure all that much. There was just like a handful of people she was just seeking to destroy, I think. But like with me, if I would say, love you, yep. That's what I get in return, yep. It was like...
That sucks.
Yeah. And I would sit there and I would scream and I would yell and I would cry and be like, there's nothing that I can ever do. And it's like, what can I do to ever please you or, whatever. And it was always the same answer, this very cold, well, you know that's never going to happen and you know why. And that was it, just so cold. So cold. And it was like, and I was still sure that I was like, oh, I'll make you proud of me. I will make you find a way, to break through this. And it was like, I was... youth and stupidity,
And eventually you learn you just have to stop, walk away from them.
Yep.
And that's been 6 years, 7 years now, right?
For you?
For you though.
For you, we're going up, it'll be 5 years in, July.
4th of July was the last time
Yeah.
we saw her.
Exactly. That was just crazy. I had no idea, and it wasn't for lack of trying. I still put the feelers out there and said, well, I talked to my grandmother and say, well, you're welcome to come.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like damn it. I'm like, I got to a point where I wasn't asking for money. I wasn't taking any more painkillers. I had healed myself in every possible way. I got the property going. I started working with animals again. I started doing the wildlife stuff again. I started doing all these things that I was supposed to do. And just like the other thing I mentioned earlier, it just totally backfired. I did what she wanted me to do, and it backfired anyway.
That's just it, though. She had no more ammunition.
I had a fear of success. And it was like, I couldn't understand that. And because I knew if I succeeded, I was going to lose her. I knew that. This is going to turn over there. But I knew that I was going to lose her, and I did. And it was like, but by the time that happened, it was okay because I had a better sense.
Yeah, we moved on with what we are.
Right. And yeah, your mother will never know love either because she just completely disregards the love that you tried to display. Like what I had on your thumbnail here, I have a picture of, what it looks like you're just trying to give her little paltry gifts, and what it feels like she's ripping your heart out and using you to elevate herself when not actually accepting your love.
Exactly.
It's like
yes.
Beyond fucked up.
It is, for sure.
But just, we have to be the people, the parents that we wished that we had.
Yep, we have to do better. We have to step up and be above, yes.
More of a, give me what I want right now and then I'm done with you. Instead of love, though, they require conformity. They want your submission, they want your obedience, and they want compliance at every level. And then a 10th thing we can say that would identify them is that their hardened feelings regarding you just simply deepen over time. Sometimes when you get to know somebody, they tend to be a little bit hard-edged. Over time, you think, well, yeah, but on the inside, there's a teddy bear in there. Not with the covert, malignant narcissist. Over time, instead of mellowing, the more you get to know that person, the more they reveal that they actually have just a commitment to dominance, and they leave no room for imagination on that. Now, as you engage with these individuals, you may have all these protesting kind of thoughts on the inside of your mind, thinking it doesn't have to be this way. I mean, for example, you might think to yourself or even say out loud, hey, look, I'm willing to be helpful. I mean, doesn't that matter? Can't you appreciate what that would lead to? Or, I've shown myself to be open-minded. Surely you can do the same in reverse with me. Or I've always been willing to be fair and to have a sense of give and take. Can't you do that with me in reverse? Or I'm a good listener. I'll consider your point of view. Surely you could do the same with me. I have a good reputation. Doesn't that matter? And wouldn't that seem to soften some of your reactions to me? I'd never treat anyone with blatant disregard or disrespect. Surely you can appreciate that. And you're wanting to bring that other person around. You might say something like, hey, look, I'm willing to say I'm sorry, and I'm willing to offer forgiveness. I'd like for you to do that in reverse.
Okay.
All right, do you remember going to the family fun day? The very last family fun day. It was the same year that we stopped talking to my mother.
Yeah.
We took her there.
Yeah.
And she dropped a bunch of money for the charity, so that was great, right?
Yeah.
But we're out there, we're having a conversation. This must have been 2018 because Tom Petty had just died in 2017.
Yes, he did.
Very memorable, And so we're sitting outside on this bench, and I remember exactly what she was wearing, and I remember exactly what I was wearing, and how it felt and the weather, and I remember it down to the last detail. Standing there, we were talking about Tom Petty's estate, and we were talking about how his daughter had decided to go ahead and try to make salad dressing or something using Tom Petty's name, and I was just thinking instantly of Newman's Own, he was doing that for a while, so I started kind of mulling that around in my head. And previously, she and I had talked about how this daughter had been a little bit, unhinged and how they hadn't really gotten along.
Yes.
They'd been a little bit estranged over the years, and talked about how she just didn't really like her. Well, all of a sudden, she's talking about this, and I rolled my eyes, and I was like, well, that is, one of the stupidest things that I've, ever heard of. I'm like, she shouldn't be doing that. And I was like, nobody should be doing anything with that estate. Now, I'm like, it has only been a few months. I was like, he died in October, and this was, in June.
Yeah.
So it had only been a few months. Yeah, I have a good memory. But we got into this conflict, and it wasn't that big of a thing to me. But I said something. I said, well, people keep saying that this daughter, and she's like, well, don't you think that maybe she's gone through some traumas and she needs a little bit of therapy or something? And it hit me really hard.
Yes.
Because I was like, I couldn't even remember what the hell I said. I said something to the effect of like, are you kidding me?
I remember that whole conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was only 14 when I had one of the worst traumas in my life. And this woman was in her 20s or 30s. And
Exactly.
she had a whole life with her father, and they had time to hash things out. The things that had happened to me, I happened to me when I was only 14 years old.
Exactly.
It was like my one good summer of my teenage life, and everything got turned upside down. And she knew that, but she never offered me any therapy. She never ever brought that up. And as a matter of fact, when I brought that event up toward the end of our relationship, she got this look on her face like, oh my God, why would you even think about that? That was like so long ago. That kind of a look. And it was like, that just got me, because it was like, that was the single most pivotal point on why I became the way that I am today in the negative aspect.
Exactly.
It came down to that one moment where I just lost all faith in men as my protectors. And I turned on the entire world. I was 14.
Yes.
And she was never there for me talking about therapy then.
No.
But she's going to talk about it with some person that she's never even met and never will met and has no connection to and no information about.
Exactly.
She's going to go and jump to her defense.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what
tells you everything you need to know right there.
That's what brought me to this right here. It's like,
I mean, it really
wow.
does. I mean, that is...
I'm like, you couldn't think of this for your own daughter, but you're going to do this for a complete stranger. And I mean, she got really mad, and I said, okay, well, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree. And she tried to keep, like, bringing up points and shit, and I was like, this is a conversation that doesn't make any difference to either one of us.
Exactly.
It's like, you have shown me what your true colors are.
Yep.
You've shown me your way of thinking.
Exactly what I thought, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it hurts.
Yeah.
And they don't think about it. You have a narcissist that's also on top of that on pain pills.
Right.
So it's a double whammy.
Right, that seems to go with it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
It is.
Me, and I'm certainly willing to find a middle ground. Or come on, can't you see that there's always a deeper story that you need to appreciate? You'll never find someone as reasonable as me, and on and on. And you're dealing with that covert, malignant type of narcissist when you realize their reaction to all of that is unimpressed.
Yep.
I don't care whatever good you think you bring to the equation. It means nothing to me. You're just a pathetic person as far as I'm concerned. What a weakling you are, which they actually want you to believe that. Why would I have to worry about listening to you? I'm going to have the final word. Don't you get it? And I'll squash you like a bug if I have to. And so there's just this coldness that they bring. So the bottom line that tells you that you're dealing with that covert malignant narcissist is you just are not able to apply any kind of standard rules of engagement with them at all. They don't really care about relationships. They're only interested in connections in the sense that you're a transaction, and they're unmoved by any kind of desire on your heart to have fairness, and certainly they don't want to have any kind of heart connection.
When you told your mother that we were getting married,
yeah,
how did she act?
Oh, you are? I mean, no real emotion.
Yeah, so they're not really happy for you.
No.
And then what about the same when you found out about Tristan? I know we told her over the phone.
I can't remember really. I mean, it wasn't anything memorable. It wasn't like she was happy or...
All I know is she got on the thing and it was like acting like she was all excited and wanted to throw me a baby shower.
Yeah, which never happened.
And then when I brought that up to my mother, she was like, well, you must have told her a long time ago before you told me, because how would she have even thought about that? I'm like, because she thought about it like on the spot because she likes to do those sorts of things. That's what I said. It's like she did. So I never brought it up again because it was like...
Exactly. Your mother was just one that just wanted to find an excuse.
But I was thinking that, I'm like, I believe you told your parents in private about us getting married, and so I don't think I ever knew what... Are you in your bubble?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. What they ever said.
Yeah.
So...
Exactly.
So... She just was not.
Yeah, I can't remember all most of it. You know, it was like it wasn't memorable. Just I mean, a lot of her reactions were nothing. They're just.
But I do remember the day that she called, because you and I were out when she was going to tell us about her getting married.
Yeah.
Because I could hear it in her voice, and I guessed it before you called back, and she's like, "Oh, what?
Yep.
How did you know?" And I'm like, I just could tell. I could just tell.
Yeah.
I was like, I could just freaking tell. I mean.
Exactly.
It was like, but then it was all about that, all about her wedding and everything. But
Yeah.
it was like, she didn't contribute at all to our wedding. I couldn't get her to come with us to our wedding.
No. My brother said he would, and he didn't.
Right. At first it was, this was a year in advance, and we say,
Yeah.
okay, now this is the date. We have a date set. Oh, I don't know if I can get off from work.
A
year in advance.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's just the
So
way
you can see that narcissism dripped down to him as well.
Yeah, I did, for sure.
Like, in a pure way.
Oh,
very
yeah.
much. It's like you may have some strange. I wouldn't even say to you that you have narcissistic tendencies, but you can tell that you've been affected by them.
Yes.
But as far as your brother goes, he's very, very narcissistic.
Oh, yeah, he is, for sure.
Nobody else would be, if they were healed and whole, he wouldn't like not be contacting you and trying to be part of your life, since he's the older brother.
Yeah.
It's like
he's 6 years older than me.
Yeah, nobody healed and whole is gonna like sit there and do that to their younger brother. So that's how you know he's still narcissistic as well.
It's 48.
We're only 36.
37, right?
37.
So he's
44.
44?
43,
Okay.
44. Yeah, nobody of that age. We've come to know where we went wrong in life.
Yeah.
And made amends for that.
Already.
And started making forward
And he's
for that.
6 years older than us, so he should be.
And where is he?
Yeah.
Are you sure you're in a bubble? I can't see
Yeah,
you.
I'm right here.
Oh, we got a message.
Share the reel.
Who?
Your stepfather.
That's weird.
It's on Tristan's.
I don't know. Just move it down here for now. Let's finish this up.
Yep. Ready?
Yeah.
We got like 3
No,
minutes
from
left.
you
Over,
at all.
for sure.
So, case, know that it's wisest for you to have the least amount of interaction with this person as possible. They're bad news. Also, when you're in the presence of that person, resolve to yourself that you'll share the least amount of personal information about who you are, because they will use it against you. And then obviously you're going to want to think to yourself, I need to find some people that know how to do relationships much, much differently from me. The covert malignant narcissist is a human in name only, because they've lost any appreciation at all for true humanity. These people are troubled souls, and they tend not to change in the least. I know this is kind of rough for you to understand and appreciate, but at the same time, I'm hoping that with knowledge can be power, and it can help you move forward. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so we can keep more information coming in your direction. When you're dealing with someone like this, you may come to the conclusion that some psychotherapy would be very beneficial to you, and we have a link below that from our sponsor that has a whole team of licensed professional therapists, and these are experienced individuals. I've had good feedback from people who have used our service here. So if you have a need for therapy, please avail yourself to the service that we have. I think you'll find that to be beneficial. In addition, I have my courses, which are a collection of videos and teaching points and reflection questions. This is me. It's all about setting boundaries with controllers, and free to be about finding your identity despite the controllers. And then we also have links to my books and other resources below. I wanted you to have a good overview here of what we're talking about when we talk about narcissism of the covert malignant variety, so that as you go forward, like I say, knowledge is power. You can at least know what you're dealing with. They want to make sure that you know and believe that you're the problem, and that's not even the case at all. These are people who are damaged from the inside out, through and through, so much so that they just can't get in touch with their humanity. And I'm hoping that as you understand that, it can prompt or give you permission to say, I've got to move on, because I want to be a person of dignity, respect, and civility.
Yes.
And I want to be poised to be somebody who lives in peace and knows how to offer peace to those in my presence. That's what I'm hoping we can stand for here on Team Healthy.
One of my first questions that I had when starting to distance myself and everything, and then coming into spirituality, is you always keep running into the same recurring theme in spirituality: honor thy mother and father.
Yes.
And so one of my biggest questions was, how do you do that when they're not living right, and when they have other expectations of you that are out of alignment with God's will?
Yeah.
How do you continue to honor your mother and your father?
By what we've talked about, you have to disown the ones that, if as long as it's not working out, if you've tried and you can't make it up between you two, you have to let them go, and you have to get a new setup to help how you feel comfortable.
Right, yes, like you personally look for like a divine counterpart to that.
Yes.
But beyond that, like to honor your earthly mother and your father, a Maharishi told me that you still honor their spirit by doing the right thing. It's like you honor not what their earthly desires are, but you honor their spirit and their soul by being in alignment with goodness and righteousness and virtue, as they should want it.
And walking away from them,
right,
so that it doesn't continue.
Right, so it doesn't, and not doing the same things that they've done, and not allowing them to poison your lives.
Yes.
You can still honor them and honor the spirit of your earthly mother and father.
Very true.
Yeah, so that was a Maharishi from 2019 or 2020.
Okay.
So it was like, it was definitely one of the very first questions that I had, because you keep getting that recurring theme.
Exactly.
Because they also say to be obedient to your mother and father, and it's like, well, that's really hard to do when they're asking you to do evil things.
It's true. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just honor their spirit, honor what that they should know is right. It's in alignment with goodness and righteousness and virtue and God, and they ought to, just walk in alignment, walk with God. That's the only way you can do. That's the only way you can bring honor.
Very true.
To the name.
Thank you, Daughter of Otten, for the conversation.
Yeah, it's a personal one,
Yes. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me. Comments. If you have anything to say, any stories to add, do them in, or, comment them in, and I'll try to get to them and respond, or I'll respond to them on a different live. Next week, I've got my Woke Wednesday, and not sure quite what we're doing with that yet, but I know that next Friday is going to be about Eastern philosophy. We're heading back with the Western and Eastern debate, and I'm going to go all over Eastern philosophy and what it's about. So, namaste, everybody. I hope that everybody had a good day and have a great weekend coming up here. If you're going to be watching the Super Bowl, enjoy it on Sunday. Otherwise, namaste, and I will see you guys on a live on Wednesday. Watch as I do this again.
If there's an X at the top, you can just use the X.
Stop streaming.
I don't think you have to do it this way.
Probably not, but...